Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all of our latest video content. If you're watching on LocalGov TV, be sure to visit their website to see all of the content made for you by your local governments. Alamance County is pleased to present the Alamance County Commissioners Meeting.
We're now going to call the meeting to order, and Vice Chair Carter is in charge of our prayer and allegiance tonight.
Like I'm sitting in a hole. I feel like I'm sitting in a hole right now. I had several comments made to me about the item I read before my invocation last meeting, and I think it's important for us to keep this format in the forefront of our minds as we come to represent the citizens of Alamance County. And so I thought, well, if it's important, it's worth reading twice. And we have a new commissioner. I'm being told I can't be heard. Let's see. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. As I said, I had an item I read out of our Daily Bread. It's a daily devotional I do. And I read it last meeting, and I've had several comments about the pertinence of it to what we do as county commissioners. And so I thought, well, we've got a new commissioner coming on board tonight. It wouldn't hurt to read it again and to have it in the forefront of our minds. It's from James 2:9 is the scripture reference. If you show favoritism, you sin and are convicted by the law as a lawbreaker. In 1872, President Ulysses S. Grant was stopped for recklessly driving his carriage through Washington, D.C. One published account says that the officer, an African American named William West, warned Grant, "You're driving fast, sir. It is endangering the lives of people who have to cross the street." Grant apologized, but the next night he was racing carriages again. Sounds right? West stopped Grant's horses. He said, "I'm very sorry, Mr. President, to have to do this, for you are the chief of the nation and I'm nothing but a policeman. But duty is duty." West arrested the president. I admire this brave man for doing his duty. So did Grant. He praised West and made sure he kept his job. God also was pleased, for he hates the injustice of favoritism. He says believers in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ must not show favoritism. That's from James 2:1. That includes not giving special favors to the rich and powerful, leaving only leftovers for the poor. Verses 2 through 4. Instead, we're called to love our neighbors as ourselves. Verse 8. If we play favorites, serving our platinum club neighbors rather than the less privileged, we sin and are convicted by the law as lawbreakers. Verse 9. God didn't play favorites with us. He loved us when we had nothing to offer. When we were without hope and without God in the world. Ephesians 2:12. With his help, we can love all people equally. That's our job, to serve the community and the citizens of Alamance County equally and fairly. Join me in prayer. Father God, as we gather here for this meeting tonight, unite our hearts and minds in common purpose. We ask for your guidance and wisdom and ask that you save us from error, ignorance, pride, and prejudice. Help us to listen attentively to one another with open hearts and minds, and grant us the humility to value each other's perspective. Guide our discussions and decisions that they may honor you and serve the shared goals of this great community. Amen. Now, if you will, if you can stand, join me in the pledge, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item is the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve with an amendment, or with a couple of amendments. The first amendment will be to add the swearing in of our new county commissioner, Dr. Sam Powell, who's replacing our recently deceased Commissioner John Paisley. And the second is to move item 4A to 8C for discussion.
Okay,
Second.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So is that,
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't read my mind, Kelly? Yeah, I'm good.
I was trying.
She wanted you to read hers.
I was trying, it was a busy signal.
Sorry, it's deadly busy. Yeah.
And now we'll have the public comments. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. And the commissioners will comment afterward if they have anything to say. And I do take notes so I can remember if we have several, what you're talking about.
Chair,
Go ahead.
Chair Allen, would you like to swear in the new commissioner first?
Oh, yes, and thank you. I certainly would. And we have the Honorable Craig Turner here. I'm sorry, I was reading it. And he is going to.
Here you go. Here's the
Yeah.
amendment copy.
Thank you. And he's going to swear in Dr. Sam Powell as our newest commissioner. Thank you for catching that.
Test one. Ms. Powell, would you hold the flash? Dr. Powell, would you put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand? And would you repeat after me, sir? I, Samuel Christopher Powell,
I, Samuel Christopher Powell,
solemnly and sincerely swear
solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers
and to the constitutional powers
and authorities
and authorities
which are or may be established
which are or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor
and that I will endeavor
to support, maintain, and defend
to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution
not inconsistent with the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge
best of my knowledge
and ability.
and ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
I, Samuel Christopher Powell,
I, Samuel Christopher Powell,
do further solemnly swear
do further solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of County Commissioner
of County Commissioner
for Alamance County.
for Alamance County.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. And I'd like to just introduce my wife, Karen, which has come to join us tonight.
Yeah. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Thank you for catching that. I was going to go past her.
And I'd just like to say that it's an honor to be asked to serve, especially in light of the service that John Paisley had served for the community. So I'm really honored to be here with you.
Okay, now, we're going to get to the public comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and the commissioners will respond afterward. So first, we have Sarah Edmonds.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sarah Edmonds. I live at 4400 Grassy Lane, Lot 4 in Burlington. I have lived in the southern part of the county for the past 12 years and am a former ABSS teacher. Here, there are a variety of concerns in the community, and I'm here to highlight the need to support staff and students within the school system and the need for transparency and accountability related to our current incoming changes to our social programs. Within the first years of being here in Alamance County, I experienced homelessness following a house fire, lived without a viable heat source in winter, went without transportation, and navigated the WIC and SNAP programs during times where life changed circumstances. Even after pulling myself up by my bootstraps as a first-year teacher, I was started as a base salary of about $37,000 a year, and my insurance for my first year for my family was $12,000. Using federal poverty food estimates, and the average two-bedroom apartment cost in our area, $2,500, just pays for food and a roof over your head. As a teacher, I did not make enough money to afford just those two things, let alone any other bills. Percentages are abstract, so please let's talk about our resident numbers. 23,000 are below the poverty line, 28,000 are food insecure, 59,000 receive Medicaid, 12,000 are covered by the Medicaid expansion, 25,000 receive food assistance, over half of our students, 13,000 receive free and reduced lunch, and an unknown number of unhoused, and the memory of one man who froze to death in his car over the winter. From watching my father struggle to access treatment with the VA, to watching my mother-in-law choose between life-sustaining medication and food, watching students who are experiencing being unhoused, food insecure, fear of immigration, and struggles with basic human dignities like being warm in the winter, alongside watching staff pour their entirety of themselves into their students, watching person after person, family after family, to make ends meet with rising costs. Even the sheriff came and asked for a raise. Everyone is affected. When the goalposts move constantly, compassion must also move quickly. Life-sustaining programs like SNAP, EBT, WIC, Medicaid, free and reduced lunch, alongside programs of social good like schools are essential. North Carolina Constitution, Article 4, Section 1 says, "For the happiness of all mankind, schools, libraries, and the means of education shall be forever encouraged." In the preamble of the Constitution, it states, "For the promotion of the general welfare," and in our own North Carolina Constitution, Article 6, Section 4, it states, "Beneficial provision for the poor, the unfortunate, and the orphan is one of the first duties of a civilized and Christian state." The oath that you all took to be county commissioners include both the U.S. and North Carolina Constitution. With the lack of a state budget and the big beautiful bill, cuts have and will continue to impact people directly. Each of you as county commissioners are the first line of defense in our county. It's your job to do everything in your power to protect our constituents, and you have two choices: to do what's right or to be held accountable. With the cuts that are coming down in the future and now, people are going to continue to suffer. As one famously said, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And then we have Richard Ojeda. Ojeda, is that right? Oh, I jumped over Kevin Farrell.
Good evening. My name is Major Retired Richard Ojeda, and I am the proud Democratic nominee for Congress in North Carolina's 9th Congressional District. I spent 24 years serving this country in uniform, and service teaches you that when people are hurting, leaders should never hide the truth. They must stand up and fight for their people. Right now, our community is being squeezed from every direction. Massive cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, public schools, disaster relief, and other lifelines are raining down from this current administration. At the same time, Phil Berger and the North Carolina legislators still refuse to pass a fair budget. The results are devastating. Hospitals could close, teachers with shameful salaries struggle even more, and parents lose access to essential services. Alamance families can go hungry. This resolution is about honesty and responsibility. Our county government must be transparent with the public about what these cuts will do to our communities, and county commissioners are the first line of defense for our working families. This is a moment to stand with your constituents. Reject these harmful cuts and fight for the people you were elected to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Farrell.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Farrell. I live at 1321 Clark Road in Snow Camp, married with 4 children, and I'm here to say tonight that we should not be raising local taxes in Alamance County this year, not sales taxes or property taxes. And I don't represent any candidate or political party or business or professional group, and I hope we can all approach this issue on a truly nonpartisan basis. There's been a lot of talk about raising the sales tax from 6.75 to 7%. No, that's a bad idea, especially in this time of economic uncertainty. I don't oppose sales taxes per se, but the rate is already too high as it is. It eats up too much of working families' hard-earned after-tax income. It strains the limited budgets of retirees on fixed incomes. It's harder to stretch. Or to try to put away a few bucks for retirement or college or on the collection plate. Furthermore, because of inflation, and this is a key point, inflation is still rising. All of us are already paying higher sales taxes. Every price increase on the food and almost everything else we buy means the amount of taxes we pay on those items rises as well. In recent years, the General Assembly has also increased our sales tax burden by making us pay taxes on services like auto repairs, for things like utility bills, the costs of which are always rising in addition. They took away the back-to-school tax holiday weekend, which was something that helped our family a lot. I worry that if you put this on the ballot, it's going to strain the good faith that needs to exist between the government and its citizens. You know, we've spoken very clearly about this the last 4 times. But on the other hand, we've also stepped up by voting to approve bond referendums, knowing full well that doing so meant property taxes would have to go up. I think that's where we're headed anyway. So we shouldn't raise property taxes either this year. Revenue neutral didn't work, and now we're already going to have to go through revaluation and sort out all the pitfalls and opportunities that'll create. There have been other increases to property taxes as well. I know we've had to take tough votes on that. And rural residents got hit really hard last year on property taxes for our fire districts. In addition, the General Assembly is considering making serious changes to the way that we can assess and collect property taxes. Therefore, it makes good sense to leave things the way they are this year and then see where we are next year. You know, the tax base is growing with all the new people coming in to work and live here. Hopefully that'll show up in the revenue. Any good football coach knows that sometimes the best play is to punt. It's 4th and long, and we need to punt on raising taxes this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have the volume up on that microphone?
Yeah, because it's, I can hardly hear them.
I could hardly hear what was being said, so, and I've got my hearing aids cranked up full blast.
I mean, I can hear, I have excellent hearing, but, okay. Next, we have Emily Conway.
I would suggest you speak directly into the microphone. It's fairly sensitive, so.
Do my best.
And it's adjustable to your height as well, so.
Hi. I just wanted to let you guys know, I know that you've received a copy of the delegation and the resolution that Down Home, North Carolina sent to you. Residents of Alamance County deserve clarity on the reasons why the county budget will be under such tremendous strain this summer as the budget decisions are made. And also why the cost of living, their healthcare premiums, their cost of food, their cost of gas are increasing at such a precipitous rate. All while social programs and assistance from the government, including Medicaid, SNAP, WIC, et cetera, are being cut. I hope the commission will adopt the resolution that you received and take swift action to implement the dashboard and the other methods of informing the county population with transparency and clarity so that the residents of the county will have the information they need to understand why the budget is in such dire straits and all the challenges that the county is going to face. Because right now, there's not a lot of clarity, and I think it's worth it. So thank you.
Thank you. Les Clark.
I'm going to stand back because I'm going to get loud. My name is Leslie Clare. I live at 4515 Regulator Drive in Burlington, North Carolina. Let me start out by saying that I'm angry. I am angry. I'm raging about something I don't like. And I believe it's your fault, and you need to do a better job. I'm not sure what your job description is, but it doesn't seem that you're listening or protecting the citizens of Alamance County, because I strongly oppose Philippi LCID landfill at 4115 Clap Mill Road. I'll excuse you, Mr. Powell, you just got into this. I have been at a couple of these meetings. You've heard me speak before, and I've watched online, and I sense there's a theme here. My wife expressed it clearly last meeting, and you'll remember this, the hot potato issue. I'm convinced the county is more concerned about tax revenue from expanded industrial sites than the residential homes in our community. And this is why I'm raging against this issue. Alamance County needs to be a better community to live in. The citizens have attended commissioner meetings and planning boards with many concerns, one being safety. Two, the air quality is an immediate impact in the area. Sound levels heard at multiple hours, even outside of the designated operating hours. Heavy industrial traffic on a rural road. Water quality concerns. Technical concerns associated with the site that may be in violation of the state requirements. But in all of this, it appears that we seem to be ignored. Yes, there's good lip service because we know there's an election coming up. But what I am most raging about is this site, and we've brought this up as citizens, is in full operation. On 11/8, I stood before this committee and I told you, full trucks go in, empty trucks come out. This is a site that is not legally permitted yet, but yet this site is in full illegal LCID operation. Technically, he's not putting stuff in the ground. Got it. But he's stockpiling it, waiting for you guys to approve the permit and push it in the hole, because the hole exists. So I ask you, why does Philippi even need a permit? The site is being run as an LCID as it right now. See, what really gets me upset, I take pictures of the garbage trucks and they're coming from Greensboro into our county to dump their trash in my backyard. That's what I'm raging against. And my time is almost up. I have to tell you, in the end of my rant, I've lived here for 26 years in this conservative county. I thought it would be nice to have maximized freedom, but I've realized the modern definition of politician applies to both parties. If their lips are moving, fill in the blank. Thank you for your time, and I pray I've not wasted my 3 minutes here. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeffrey Thronberg.
Good evening. So Jeff Thronberg, 3508 Southern High, Mount Hermon Church Road. So I'm here to talk about something that happened at the last commissioners meeting on March 2nd. To me, the definition of a leader is one that guides others towards a common goal, encourages progress, and sets an example through their actions. There was a young man, Sawyer Jones, that showed up to not only speak for himself, but I felt he was representing the 23,000 plus students in ABSS. I first met Sawyer after the Commissioners' Public Forum when he come up to me, introduced himself, and told me this was his first time voting. I was first taken back because I was looking at an 18-year-old who was informed and wanted to be involved in what happens in this county. That doesn't happen much these days, so I was impressed and encouraged him to stay involved. To see him at a commissioners meeting prepared to speak before the board made me extremely proud and gave me more faith in our younger generation. He was well-spoken, and although he realized there were shortcomings in our schools, he was excited that the improvement was happening and wanted to share that. And his only ask was that the commissioner please stop criticizing the schools, especially the students, by calling them functionally illiterate, which to me is unprofessional. Remember, a leader sets an example through their actions. When it was Priola's time to speak, he dismissed Sawyer's presentation and went on a normal rant slamming ABSS. A strong leader would have responded, "Thank you for your presentation and for the work you and your teachers are doing. I appreciate seeing the progress. I may have some questions about the data, but I respect the effort that went into this and improvements made." When one constantly focuses on the past, they're always looking behind them, therefore can never look forward. This causes those who do so to become part of the problem, not a solution. Ms. Priola, you're assigned to serve on 4 committees: ABSS, Library, Social Services, Recreation, and Parks. You constantly criticize ABSS, but yet have not attended one of the meetings this year. You actually admitted not attending the ABSS meeting prior to the last commissioners meeting in your comments. So my question is this because you're only in Alamance County for 2 weeks out of the month? I would like for you to go on public record during your comments as to how much time you're actually spending in our county. If indeed it is only 2 weeks, then it is apparent you're not fulfilling your duties as commissioner and not representing the people of the county in your full capacity. I would ask you to stop being part of the problem, start being part of the solution. We should encourage our students by positive reinforcement, not discourage them. I personally think that Mr. Sawyer and every teacher in this county is owed an apology. The teachers not only shaping the minds of our youth, but also the moral character. The latter is an unreasonable ask of them because until parents get involved, the cultural issues ABSS faces will never get better. Let us all come together, put aside all of our differences, and have one goal of helping ABSS get our schools to be one of the best in the state. Thank you.
Southie Blanton.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Southie Blanton. I live at 3323 Elk Street in Burlington. I'm here tonight to tell the story of a boy. His name is Escher. Escher arrived on March 7th, 2020. March 7th, 2020 was also the first time I ever called 911. I was greeted by a dispatcher, given instructions to get some towels and to remove the laces from one of my boots. I'm not sure what the lace was going to be used for, but luckily I never had to find out. I checked in on our youngest, who was still sound asleep amongst all the chaos. EMS arrived and I hung up with the dispatcher. Escher was born on the floor of our bedroom. He came out with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck and was a scary shade of purple. The EMS staff removed the cord, wrapped him up, gave him oxygen, got him and my wife into an ambulance, and off they sped to UNC hospitals with me following. Escher turned 6 last weekend. When he grows up, he wants to be a storm chaser. He now routinely informs us he plans to move to Oklahoma for college and looks forward to Mama and Dada visiting and chasing a tornado with him. As you might suspect, today was an especially exciting day for Escher, given the weather forecast. Every week we visit May Memorial Library and he slowly types the word tornado into the children's catalog and hits search. I explain how the numbering system works and we set off to find books about tornadoes. We visit the play area, or on Saturdays we explore the activity room. Sometimes it's Legos, so he builds a storm shelter. Sometimes it's pretend play, so he pretends to be in the storm shelter. He's reading about tornadoes and imagining a future because he's in kindergarten and has teachers that believe in him. He shows off his reading skills. Escher and his 3 siblings attend public school in ABSS at Williams, Turrentine, and Highland. They have flourished because they have teachers, administrators, EC staff, bus drivers, and others who have worked their tails off while they watch as the rest of the country laps them in pay and benefits. I tell the story of Escher because budgets are not a spreadsheet. They are a list of priorities, and what you budget for shows what you value. As we watch prices rise across the county, state, and country, we see that services and support for the most vulnerable are slashed and reduced. Many schools are the only place some kids get a warm meal. Many libraries are the only place a resident can have access to a computer. EMS services provide care to residents of this county when lives are on the line. I implore you to not only look at your budget and think about it, what it means for the bottom line, but what it means for the future of Alamance County. Without these services, I wouldn't be looking forward to a tornado-themed birthday next March for a future meteorologist. Thank you.
I hope I pronounced this name right. Alan Figas.
My name is Alan Figgis. I live at 4226 Jacks Creek Trail. I just wanted to add my opposition to the Philippi landfill. Some of you were at the meeting last week. It's moving forward. As this gentleman clearly put forward, it is unnecessary. There are 3 other landfills within a 3-mile radius. There's a 4th just outside of that circle. It's unsafe. Additional truck traffic. It's not supposed to be operating, yet there's ash falling in the adjacent neighborhoods. Just today, there were several red triaxle dump trucks coming and going. I don't think that was for Uber Eats. Bottom line is you cannot allow Alamance County to become the dumping ground for central North Carolina. So I look forward to the discussions in the coming meetings. Thank you.
And Sean Ewing.
Good evening, Commissioners. Good evening, Chair Allen, board members, and new board member. My name is Councilman Sean Ewing. I live in the city of Mebane. I'm here tonight because I was present in the room during the last morning work session. After listening to the discussion regarding our schools and our students, I felt it was necessary to come back tonight to address the tone of that conversation. Leadership is more about managing a budget. It's about the message we send to the next generation, and our students are listening. They hear when the leaders imply they aren't capable or that their schools aren't worth the investment. This creates a culture of defeatism. It makes it harder to recruit the quality teachers we need, and it tells our children that the local government has already perceived that they are a lost cause. We cannot expect students to strive for excellence if our leaders are publicly highlighting only perceived failures. We're at a crossroads for ABSS. Between rezoning, facility repairs, budget reconciliation, our schools need partners. We need a board of commissioners that will sit at the table to solve these complex and difficult issues. I'm asking this board to please commit to a standard of discourse that treats our students with the respect they deserve. Let's focus on how we can bridge funding gaps through collaboration. Our students are the future of Alamance County. They deserve to know that their commissioners are rooting our cheerleaders for their success. Thank you all for your time. You have a good day.
Thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ben, say aye.
Okay. I don't know why I'm not.
I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Commissioner.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Thank you for doing that again. This is something we just started last month, that we are going to let the commissioners make comments to the speakers, rather than the speakers sitting here and the meeting may be lasting 3 or 4 hours. And I actually had that circled, still jumped over it. All right, so we'll start with Commissioner Thompson.
Okay. I just want to tell Sarah Edmonds, I think you're amazing. Thank you. My daughter's a teacher, so I know where you are. And Mr., I can't pronounce your name, number 2, who y'all, what's your last name? I know I can get that. Thank you for your passion. I wish we all would keep that passion about wanting better. There's comments to everybody, because everybody had so much really strong, good things to say. Southie Blanton, I appreciate you. Boy, I can't imagine the stress that you felt that day, but I'm praying for a nice, easy, sweet, kind tornado that won't hurt nothing. Just one of those, look at that and it's over. Mr. Claire, I've heard you angry every time, and I so get it. I really do. This is a really difficult situation, and we have got to work this out for everybody. Mr. Thornburg, thank you. Thank you. Everything you said needed to be said. And there's just, we just got to really do better. We're looking at some really difficult things, and everybody that spoke tonight is wanting better, and so do I. So for the sake of Alamance County, we got to do right. This is a big, big year for us, a lot of transition and change, and we cannot let one person slip through the cracks, because it will show up later. Later does come quicker than you think.
Commissioner Powell.
Well, thank you. I'd just like to start out by saying that I love this community. And one of the goals that I have for serving on the commissioner board is to support public education. I think that it's something that is more important perhaps than anything else that we have on our plate. But the budget this year is going to be challenging. And I don't know if you recognize, how all that works, but from my experience in the past, and I'm a new commissioner, but from what I understand, I hope I don't say anything wrong here, but the budget that we have for schools, for the teacher's salary, is paid by the state. And Alamance County adds a supplement. But the responsibility for paying the teachers is a state responsibility. And unfortunately, North Carolina has not, in comparison to other states, done really well there. And we're hoping that the legislature will see fit to bring that more in line. I think we're the lowest in the Southeast right now. But at any rate, in Alamance County, we provide a supplement for those teachers. And I don't think you hear from the news and so forth how well we do. And I think there's some bright spots out there. But Alamance County supplement is over $6,000 per year average for the teachers. And that puts us in the top 30%, or even probably a little higher. Back in 2020, 5 years ago, we were in the top 10 counties or systems in the whole state for the supplement. It was $4,600 per year average per teacher. And I don't think that has been told. So Alamance County is doing a lot for public education. And then they look at all that is paid for support of the system, and that puts us in a lower category because I think some of the money that we provided for the schools for operations was shifted towards teacher salaries. But Alamance County has done a lot, and this is going to be a tough year for us. Back in 2018, we passed a $180 million bond referendum for schools, 150 for the public schools, 30 million for the community college. We haven't paid that off yet. I think it's a 15-year cycle. We're about halfway through it, about 7 years into that cycle for paying off that $150 million. And in the budget that I looked at, it's online for the last 5 years, we have been paying about $20 million a year on that budget, and that's 8 cents on the tax rate. So if you combine what we're doing with supplements and operating in money for the schools and capital improvements and all of that, the county is doing a lot. And now I hear that the school board wants another $400 million consideration for us to pass additional bonds for 2 elementary schools and a middle school and some other things. So as I come on this board, I'm grateful for the opportunity, but I want to recognize that this is a tough year for us, and we have a lot of things to consider, and it's difficult for us to throw money at a situation without some boundary. And our local tax that we collect for property tax, our ad valorem property tax, is about $132 million a year, something like that. We'll find out more tonight. So the question then becomes, how much, where are the guardrails for what we can spend and what we can do? And so as a commissioner, that's going to be a tough thing for us to deal with this year. But I understand the concern for the residents that don't want to pay additional property tax. I also understand the concerns for the school system that want to get funding up. And so we have to find a way to make that work. Also, remember when we talked about the sales tax issue of a 1/4-cent sales tax? That would have helped. The citizens decided they didn't want that and turned it down 4 times, I believe. So that's put more pressure on property taxes. So we've got a lot on our plate. So I'll just say that I look forward to serving with the group. It's a tremendous honor to be asked to do that, and I'll try to assist with getting information out. I think that one of the things that we can do is better communicate what we are doing, and I hope that we can do that as we go through the year and through this budget cycle. But thank you.
Chairman, did you accidentally skip Ebony Penix as number 1 on public comment?
Oh, I sure did, because we had Sandy Ellington Graves said she wasn't going to make it because of the weather. I'm sorry.
No.
We sh-
She's here. I didn't.
We
know.
should let her speak. Ebony Penix, I'm so sorry for that. I wish you'd raised your hand like we do in school.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just noticed it was marked off above there.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners, and welcome, Mr. Powell. Thank you, Mr. Carter. You said half of what I was going to say. I really wanted to lift up the fact that at the last meeting, you told the story about Ulysses S. Grant, and it reminded me of something as well. I was thinking about in Matthew, chapter 25, verse 35, for I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I think in that chapter, they wanted to highlight the fact that helping him is equivalent to serving him. So our citizens in Alamance County, if you help them, you're serving God as well. So I really appreciated that, and I appreciate you saying it again. So I didn't have to say it; you said it better. So yeah. So we're here because the county commissioners is the first line of defense for Alamance County citizens. We are here asking you guys to pass our resolution on transparency. We know that next year a lot of cuts are coming, and we know those cuts are federal. We know they are state, but also it would be nice to know, like, what do you guys plan on doing to make sure that either our people in Alamance County are protected, or they at least know what's coming, what's going to happen? I work on the ground. I knock on people's doors every day to make sure they're okay. I know people are already suffering. I have a full-time job and I'm struggling. And I know we have some people who can't, they're not able-bodied. They can't get up and go to work. And it's our jobs to take care of them. I pay taxes. That's where I want my tax money to go. I want it to go to people who can't. I want to make sure that when the time comes and we're hungry, there's something to eat for the people who can't. And I do that by myself. So as a county, we should be able to do that. So yes, we are here asking you guys to pass this resolution of transparency. And if you got to, call out your friends. Like, it's time for people at state level and federal level to do something. We are all human beings. This has nothing to do with class. This has nothing to do with color. This has nothing to do with religion. This is about people having basic human rights, needs, stuff we all need. Food, a good shower, somewhere to live. I mean, we shouldn't even be here talking about this. So yes, we're asking you guys to do the right thing. So I thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I overlooked your name up there.
No worries. No worries.
I'm glad you got to speak. So we do have a dashboard, and we do list just about everything on that dashboard. And maybe we can be a little bit better at putting that on there. Also, all of our meetings, our videos, you can go online and pull them up at home at your own leisure. You don't have to come down here if you really just want to hear what's going on instead of speaking, but we're always glad for you to come speak. And I think, I speak for everybody, schools and safety are paramount importance to us because, I think a lot of people don't even think that these are the people who are going to be looking after us when we get older. These are the ones who need to be well educated. They need to be doctors and nurses and lawyers and people that we're going to need as we get older. So we need to, support and help the schools as much as possible. But it is going to be a really, really tight budget this year for all of us. And as far as the landfill, that has not been brought to us yet. And I know several of us are trying to find anything and everything we possibly can to help with that. But the permit had already been issued, and so when that comes up for a vote, we're going to see if we've managed to do anything to help you with that, and we are trying. Mr. Carter?
I'll clarify one point there. The permit that's been issued, not by the county, but by the state DOT for the driveway link or the roadway link to the Flat Mill Road. Boy, that was a lot of stuff to cover tonight, I tell you. It was all over the place. I love a 6-year-old that's focused on tornadoes. That's pretty cool. We had one go by our front door, 50 feet from our front door one time back. I think it was in Fran. I'm looking at my wife. I don't keep track of those things. Hugo. The one that came all the way in here, yeah. Yeah, that was fun. 28 trees down. Your son would have loved to have seen that, I'm sure.
Come to the house and tell them about it.
We can arrange that, or him come here for that, for sure. The poverty issue, that's going to be a big issue with our budget as we look at DSS expenses this coming year and the impact. I was in a meeting last week, I believe, in the last 2 weeks with the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and they are pressing the feds to give us some leeway in the response time we have to give us an opportunity for the state and the feds to look at how to balance the impact on DSS for SNAP and what's the other one?
WIC.
Yeah. The Medicaid expenses. The push down to us on that's going to be potentially traumatic for Alamance County. So we've got to deal with that, and fortunately, we've got some representatives that are trying to help us deal with it and push back on it at the federal level. I don't know where that's going to go yet, needless to say. The landfill, as Commissioner Allen just stated, we're looking at all the issues on that as best we can. School quality, both quality from the perspective of condition and quality from the perspective of performance. I mean, we're looking at it from, we want the school quality to be as high, the turnout, the product of education to be at the best level possible for the citizens of Alamance County. The school system is dealing with a multiplicity of issues with school, with learning. One of the biggest issues, my wife taught here, is a retired teacher herself. I have a daughter that teaches 6th grade in another state right now, 6th grade math. One of the problems we're dealing with in North Carolina that some of the systems aren't facing is the problem of children entering the system that don't speak the language. Now, that is a really big problem. We have a school. I was having a conversation earlier today where a principal was talking about improvement at a 2% level. But that school is heavily impacted by a situation where you have many students who don't speak English. And so their reading level, when the reading material is in English, makes it even more difficult for them to come up to to a higher level. So there are all kinds of issues for us we don't have to deal with those directly, but we face them indirectly with our school system. So we want to see the quality performance that everybody, I think, in this county wants to see. We'd like all of our schools to be graded A, at least an A and a B. We're not there yet. I have heard from Dr. Fleming's previous county, I've heard very glowing references on the performance he had in the school system he was in before he came here. So I'm watching and hoping that we'll see the same kind of results in Alamance County that they saw there. I think that's all I have to say.
Okay, Commissioner Friola.
On the landfill, I'm convinced that that road is not working. It shouldn't be utilized for the industrial strength activity that appears to be taking place. But as one of the commissioners related, we've got to see that we're going to get through the legal process. The owners are entitled to their legal process and to hear their rights. It doesn't sound like it's a good idea to me, just so you have some idea where I'm coming from at this point. I like the point that the gentleman made about taxes. We've got sufficient revenues. What we don't have is the will to say no sufficiently. We haven't had that to date. Now, back to Mr. Thronberg. He seems to be keeping track of my schedule pretty good. I wish I could travel as much as he suggests that I travel. I do see my wife on weekends. She's living in at the Tulane University campus. She's a professor. So thank you for noting that she's an educator, like I am for the past 15 years. So let's get into the weeds of it. Let's talk about education. We can't hide our heads in the sand if we love our kids. And I don't blame the kids. I blame the feckless school board. The feckless school board that had a scandal a week for the past number of years. We've had the same chairmanship, for years along, and they haven't done sufficient work on the academic records to bring kids up out of being fundamentally illiterate when it comes to understanding how to read, write, and do arithmetic. That's the facts. Those are the statistics. Do your homework. The new figures show that at least 1 out of 2 kids are fundamentally illiterate when it comes to having a full functional education. Those are the facts. If you hide your heads in the sand, you're not going to get the kids where they need to be working in the economy. So I'm not going to play the game with the emperor has no clothes. I'm going to look at you straight in the eye and tell you we got to do better, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We'll talk more. I'm going to address those facts to this school board that is tone deaf to any of those facts. They were more interested in salaries, for the top end in particular, over the past 5 years. That's where we'll come from. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have our presentations. And Susan, I'm assuming that, is it Elise?
It's Elsa.
Elsa.
I'll be glad to introduce Elsa Swenson to you all. So our auditor, Elsa Swenson, is here tonight to make our presentation of our fiscal year 25 audit.
Did skip the proclamation, but I'll bring that up later.
I thought we moved it to 8.
Good evening. On behalf of Martin Stearns and Associates, I'd like to present Alamance County's 2025 audited financial statements. Some audit highlights. The county received an unmodified opinion. This is a clean audit opinion. I'd like to thank Susan Evans, as well as Jennifer Blaylock, the rest of the finance department, Candace Goebel at DSS, everyone that we work with at Alamance County throughout the audit process gives us accurate and timely information. It is a great working relationship, and we can hope to continue that working relationship with the county. Susan Evans is also a competent finance officer, It is a requirement under governmental auditing standards that she had the skill, knowledge, and experience to oversee audit services. Looking at your general fund, you had revenues for the year of $223.9 million, an increase of about 7%. You had expenditures in the general fund of $216.9 million, an increase of 5%. I will detail these further along in the presentation. Looking at your overall fund balance for the general fund, you had fund balance at $96.3 million, a less than 1% decrease of $555,000. And this decrease, revenues continue to exceed expenditures, but the decrease is due to a large transfer from the general fund to the capital project fund. Available fund balance from the general fund is calculated by taking your total fund balance of $96.3 million, less non-spendable items of $160,000, less items restricted by state statute of just over $18 million. This gives you an available fund balance of $78.1 million. This is a decrease in your available fund balance of $2.6 million, and this decrease is due to decreases in overall fund balance of $555,000 and an increase in your stabilization by state statute of $2 million. Your available fund balance as a percent of expenditures for the general fund was 36%. This is a decrease of 3% from the prior year. Unassigned fund balance for the general fund was $35.6 million, and as a percent of your total general fund expenditures, this is only 16.45%. The county policy requires a 20% minimum. This is 3% below the county policy, and unassigned fund balance is what is not allocated. This negatively can impact your bond ratings. Your top three revenues for the general fund included property taxes at 55%, local option sales taxes of 20%, restricted intergovernmental revenues of 12%, and other revenues made up 13%. Property taxes were $122.8 million, an increase of 10%. This is due to a tax rate increase. Local option sales taxes were $44.7 million. This is down about 1%, but overall comparable to the prior year. Your restricted intergovernmental revenues, which are your federal and state grants, were $26.3 million, an increase of 14%. This is primarily due to increases in Medicaid cost settlement and overall increases across the board. Top three expenditures for the general fund were human services at 19%, public safety made up 25%, education 30%, and other expenses made up 26%. Education expenses were $64.2 million, an increase of 11%. This is primarily due to increases in local current expense and repairs and maintenance of roughly $5.1 million. Human service expenditures were $40.5 million, an increase of 5%, overall comparable to prior year. Public safety expenditures were $55.3 million, an increase of 2%, again comparable to prior year. Looking at your landfill fund, you had operating income of $1.1 million, investment in capital assets of $15.2 million, and unrestricted net position, which what is available in the fund, of $14.6 million. You had an overall total net position of $29.8 million. Your quick ratio for the landfill fund was 55.1, and the LGC would be concerned if this were less than 1. And your performance indicators, you had timely audit submission. The LGC deadline was extended to February 12th this year due to the delay at the federal level for the federal government shutdown. There were 2 material weaknesses this year, one in the foster care and adoption program and one in the Medicaid program, and you can refer to the compliance report for the compliance findings. This does conclude my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
If I could, please.
Yes.
The available fund balance and then the unassigned fund balance. Could you maybe explain the difference between those two?
Certainly. Let me get back there. Let's see here. So your available fund balance, your unassigned fund balance has no constraints, which means there are 5 classifications of fund balance. There's restricted fund balance, which is restricted by external sources such as laws or grantors. You have committed fund balance, which is committed through project ordinances, board formal action. You have assigned fund balance. An example of this is appropriated fund balance that you use to balance the budget. And then you have unassigned fund balance, which has no constraints. So the difference between available fund balance is a calculation that is used primarily by the LGC to compare you to other units. This calculation takes your total fund balance, less non-spendable items, less items restricted by state statute. And the restricted by state statute is typically your accounts receivable that are not on hand as of year end.
Okay, thank you. On the unassigned fund balance, you talked about it being 35.65 million this year compared to 41 last year. So it's down from 19.87% to 16.45%.
Yes.
And you suggested that being less than 20 might be a problem. But the state only requires it to be 8%, if I remember correctly.
That's correct. The state actually, excuse me.
So when it would start affecting our bond rating is my question is, at what point for that percentage does it start to give us an effect on the bond rating?
And I might need Susan to speak to that.
I can address that portion, Commissioner Powell. So as far as an 8%, that is a myth. There is no state legislation that maintains or requires that a county or municipality maintain an 8% fund balance. 8% is equal to 1 month of operations. Now, they will send out letters when it starts getting below, I believe, 16%. And at that point in time, the LGC can come in if they deem it necessary and take over a county or a municipality. And as far as in answer to your question about it negatively affecting our bond rating, it can negatively affect it now. Because with us having a policy of 20%, our bond ratings are going to look at, are we maintaining that 20%? Have we maintained that 20%? And if we continue to decrease our percentage of unassigned fund balance, we're setting a negative trend instead of a positive one.
May I ask a follow-up, Mr. Powell? I think we might have covered it before, but forgive my memory. Did we ever vote as a commission to establish a 20% balance?
We did.
Yes.
We did. When did we do that?
Was it 2020 or 2021?
I believe it was right before 2020. I can get you the exact date.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful. Yes, thank you. And is there a criteria, or we just give a number?
So it's looking at how solvent we want to be financially. As I said before, 8% is 1 month of operating expenditures. And so looking at 20%, we're basically covering 2.5 months, not even a quarter. If there were to be something tragic that were to happen into Alamance County where we had to replace buildings, where we had to replace school buildings, if we had a catastrophe like Katrina to come through, it's going to negatively impact our operations. And we would have to rely on those revenues and that fund balance to carry us from month to month until revenues could then start coming in.
I understand your point. What I'm asking a little bit more specifically, and maybe it's in the ordinance or resolution, is there other details other than the number itself on how we can fluctuate that level of balance?
So the board came up with the 20% threshold, and that's where we're looking to maintain.
And it says we must.
I believe it says it shall, but I will look into that and get
Thank
you
you.
the exact wording.
And from a bond perspective, I think if we go below that target, they're looking, rather than staying consistently below it, they're looking at us to have a plan to get back to or above the target.
That is correct. And if the board will remember, about 2 years ago, we were upgraded
Right,
by
AAA.
Standard & Poor's as well as Moody's. That takes us one step below that AAA rating and one step below the maximum rating with the other agency. And they are currently reviewing. They will review municipalities and counties from time to time, and based on financial reports, will issue a downgrade whether you are requesting a review or credit or not.
Which affects our borrowing rate.
That is
bonding
exactly
rate.
correct.
Commissioner Powell, I'm sorry, you had the floor. You had more
Okay.
to say?
Yeah, and I was just wondering, last year, I looked online at the budget for the county, and it showed transfers of $15,594,000, and I was just wondering if you could shed any light on that. It's
In fiscal year '24?
last year.
Yeah, I do not have that information with me. We can certainly get that to you, though.
That's okay.
The majority of that, Commissioner Powell, was for capital transfers. 10 million of that in what Elsa was addressing earlier when we saw that big transfer out. 10 million of that was ARPA revenue replacement monies that were being set aside to be used for the courthouse expansion.
Oh, okay.
And there was also 5 million.
And we got a grant for that too, didn't we?
No,
That-
sir, no. Not for the courthouse.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
I just am going to ask about the 555,000. What is that? It's
That
on
is-
Page 4.
It's on your Exhibit D, page 19.
Okay.
And Commissioners, you do not have a copy of all the audit at this time. We did not receive LGC approval until Friday, so I will make sure that you all have a copy of that in the morning.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you.
And just one quick thing, we find, public safety expenditures, we went up a little over $1 million from 24 to 25. Public safety expenditures, what was that? Was that bonuses or was that?
So without digging
Equipment
into
or
the
just-
numbers, let me dig into that to get you what that was. I can give it to you by category.
Okay.
It's going to be all encompassing, so it's going to include salary increases. It's going to include any one-time equipment purchases, any operation increases. I can get you those figures.
Okay, thank you.
And that's all of our safety, the EMS,
Yeah.
everything. Anybody else? Okay, next we have the adult multidisciplinary team. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you want to get home.
Good evening, Commissioners. I am Candace Goebel. I'm with the Department of Social Services, and I appreciate the opportunity to share a little information tonight about the Adult Protection Multidisciplinary Teams. I want to provide just a brief overview for you tonight to tell you what those actually are, provide why we need to move to more of a statutory review team, and ultimately request direction from the commissioners whether or not we wish to proceed with a single county or a multi-county team. All right, so the multidisciplinary team is a group of professionals from different agencies who come together to review cases involving abuse, neglect, and exploitation of vulnerable adults. By bringing multiple agencies to the table, the team can improve coordination across the county, share perspectives, and identify gaps in service within the community. The goal is ultimately to strengthen the overall response to adult protective services cases and ensure vulnerable adults receive the support, appropriate resources, and protection that they need. Currently, Alamance County already collaborates with community partners in a similar way. However, this new state law, which is State Law 2025-23, creates a specific framework for how these teams operate. Currently, we do participate in a multidisciplinary team that's housed at the Family Justice Center. However, that team was not established under the requirements of Session Law 2025-23. And because of this, DSS is limited in the information that can be shared related to adult protective services cases, and that's strictly due to the confidentiality laws around adult protective services. Establishing the statutory MDT under the new law would allow appropriate information sharing between agencies and help the team better identify community needs and service gaps when addressing adult protection issues. The law also outlines which partners should be involved in this team. So we're looking at, if you remember, when we talked a little bit about child fatality, there is statute around that, and it outlines the specific members that are part of that team. This new law for adult multidisciplinary team does very similar to that. It outlines the specific members that are be part of that team. So as you can see listed here, it includes social services, local law enforcement, the district attorney's office, the public guardian, mental health professionals, public health representatives, healthcare providers, an individual from the area agency on aging, long-term care ombudsman, and a victim advocate. The team chair can also appoint 5 designated members to join the team from different aspects, such as hospitals or financial institutions, to just provide that expertise where needed. I will share this map. The School of Government keeps up and provides toolkits for counties. They assist them in the development of these multidisciplinary teams. And here is a map that shows you all the different counties that currently do have an established MDT team within their county. The ones in orange are going to be those single county, and then you can see there are a few counties that act as a multi-county MDT team, so multiple counties that join together to form one. So tonight, I'm here simply to ask for direction from the commissioners where we should look to establishing a single county team or a multi-county team. Ultimately, establishing a single county team allows us to focus specifically on Alamance County needs while we're building on the stronger partnerships that already exist within our county. When you look at multi-county, you're looking at multiple collaborations across different counties, also counties with different resources. We are surrounded by many larger counties that have a different set of resources than we currently have. Are there any questions about the multidisciplinary team?
What counties are you thinking about joining with?
Well, I would suggest that we move into a single county multidisciplinary team, just simply because the larger counties around us, their resources are a lot different. So having a single county would allow us to focus specifically on Alamance County.
And which is where I was going with the question, actually. It seems like characteristically, they're quite different than Guilford.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your preference would probably be remaining single county.
That is correct.
Okay. What's the downside of staying single county?
I think you lose different perspectives of different counties and different insights as you add more members onto the team. But the members here within this county that are currently serving, as well as the members that would be serving on the single county, they would all provide that direct expertise of Alamance County specifically. So I think that would be a true benefit.
You've already got a good cross-fertilization of management between the counties, don't you? You have pretty good contact.
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I will tell you that this state law also allows the opportunity for us to come. It actually requires social services. It adds a lot of pieces to the director's plate as far as when to call the meeting, setting the procedures, things of that nature, which is why we're looking to pull that away from FJC over to social services. We want to be able to participate in multidisciplinary teams. It's a true advocate for the vulnerable adults that we serve and really looking to establish and identify gaps within the community. But it also gives us the opportunity once per year to come and present to the DSS board and to the Board of Commissioners as far as the work that we've been doing and any gaps that we've identified.
Anybody else?
I'm just curious, do we have anybody from Alamance County on the North Carolina Child Tele team?
I do not think we do. I think they are actually appointed to that team.
I was on that for 5 years.
Yeah.
Speaker Moore appointed me, and it is a wealth of resources to pull from, to bring to your county, like the dude over ATF to come talk about vaping. Kella Hatcher's the direct, that's you can also just go and sit and watch the meetings. We used to get bills ready to go, suicide prevention in the schools, et cetera, that kind of thing. The thing on the steering wheel and making you put your seatbelt on the back seat, because instantly in a wreck, your body becomes like a missile. It's just really, so many things to look at. I was just wondering with that, do you have this list, this group of representatives, so to speak, law enforcement, public officers?
So some of them already serve on the current MDT team. So we would be looking to identify those individuals that would actually stay on the team and then seek to identify the additional members that would now need to be part of, just based on the statute requirements.
Okay.
And you would be bringing that information to us?
Sure, I'm happy to share that. There is one that requires commissioner appointment, and so of course we would be coming before you to share that information as well.
Do we have a financial institution representative involved at this time? I see that on the list.
Not at this time, simply because a lot of the work that's been done in adult multidisciplinary teams, there is really no specific guidelines to follow. And so the team that was created back in 2014 was created with the help of the School of Government. So while there is a pretty standard amount of individuals that attend, I don't believe there's a financial institution person.
What would be the purpose of the financial institution if we had one?
Well, we do work with financial institutions a lot when you're looking at exploitation of individuals. So oftentimes we get reports from local banking institutions that are seeing some sort of fraud activity that's occurring in a bank account. And so their knowledge and expertise from that area would greatly benefit the team.
I don't think that would be hard to acquire at all. Most of 35 years in banking, it isn't hard to find a banker who will volunteer to do something like that, so I don't think that'd be hard.
Commissioner Viola, did you have something else?
Well, I just want to add my thumb on the scale. I think Director Goebel is very good at what she does, and I've appreciated working with her over the past year and a half. I trust her judgment. I recommend that we go with it.
Thank you.
I just have a question. While I have them both in the room, how are we doing with our staff amounts of social workers and CPS and adult protective services?
Yeah, so we go on a roller coaster periodically, and right now we're having some struggles in our foster care team. But you know, it's that roller coaster that we ride. The work is traumatic.
Yeah.
We know that individuals see a lot of things out in the field that many people don't experience. And so it is very traumatic work, and we have a lot of new folks coming in fresh out of college, and sometimes what they think is going to happen isn't necessarily what actually happens when they're out in the field. And so there's some decisions that have to be made whether or not that work is right for them. But we are on a roller coaster. We have done well in adult services. We have more assessors right now in rotation than we have in quite some time, which is a positive for us, as they are our first response out into the field. So we continue to work on our staffing.
And abuse hasn't quit.
It doesn't stop.
Thank you, too. I know what you do.
Well, you were part of the first phase in our salary study.
We were.
to implement and try to help get you where you needed to be. What is your vacancy rate right now?
So I will tell you that we cannot seem to, as far as percentage, I can't spit that off, but I will tell you, we have this hump that we can't seem to get over, and that's around 29 or 30 vacancies. Right when we decide that we're going to meet that 28, we get another resignation of someone choosing another profession or moving on in their career. So.
Are we losing people to another career, or are we losing people to other agencies?
It just varies. I think a lot of times we have individuals that make decisions to choose another profession just because the work is often hard. For social work, we have a lot less individuals going into child welfare, protective services work. They're looking for more clinical pieces. And so oftentimes we have individuals that start their career and then maybe they go back for their master's degree and move on from there. We do sometimes lose individuals to other counties. We are surrounded by larger counties, so of course they do pay a little bit more than, that's to be expected when you are a smaller county versus a larger county. So.
Thank you.
Yes.
We need to move it.
We need a motion. Yep, I was going to make sure everyone was
I
finished.
would like to move that we support the director's choice.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then we moved one item down to 8C, which is the proclamation, and I believe our new commissioner is going to be doing that for us.
Thank you. I looked at the proclamation, and it is a proclamation that asks us as a board to make this proclamation, yet the proclamation doesn't really come from this board, apparently, from the way it's written. It's coming from, I think, the National Association of Social Workers, and we've just taken what they sent, and then we're being asked to make this proclamation, and it's nice to have that input into how it would be written. It's a good guide, but I think that maybe we should customize this to be a Alamance County proclamation instead of a proclamation from some national organization that has sent this to us. And I find that there's several errors in here. And I would like to, since March 26 is the month, it's the National Social Work Month. So it needs to, I think, for a timely thing, we need to go ahead and approve it. But I'd like to ask if we could make some edits to it. And I have some suggestions for that, if that's appropriate.
Yeah. Need a motion?
Well, hold it. I haven't told you
Sorry.
what the edits are.
Okay. Well, I thought you were going to get a motion to edit, excuse me.
Oh, well, if you'd like to.
He wants to edit and get a motion to approve, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, shall I go ahead if you want to?
That's
Okay.
okay.
So it says proclamation 2026 Social Work Month. And then it says social workers - uplift, defend, transform. And that's a moniker from this national organization. It's not ours. And I would think that it would be appropriate to remove that.
Do you know what ours is?
Hmm?
Have you decided what ours is since you don't like what theirs is?
Oh, well, I would just say 2026 Social Work Month.
Okay,
That's the proclamation.
gotcha.
And also, if you leave it, the uplift has a comma after it, defend has a comma after it. If you look online, it should be a period instead of a comma after each uplift and defend, and another period after transform, which is not on here. But if you look online, so this is really not in keeping with what they publish anyway. I would just take that out, just strike social workers, uplift, defend, and transform, because that's not something we came up with. On the first paragraph, it says, whereas social workers, on, and it says child welfare agencies, then it says community, centers, and within the federal, state, and local governments nationwide, which does not read very well. I would remove the comma after community, and then it would read child welfare agencies, community centers, and the federal, state, and local governments, unless there's some other explanation of how that's supposed to read.
That looks like a typo to me.
It looks like a typo. And then on the second paragraph, social workers have worked to improve human well-being, advocate for justice, and support everyone's basic needs. I would say individuals' basic needs instead of everyone's. I don't know, that just doesn't sound right. But if you put individuals' basic needs, that might make more sense, unless you've got a better solution. And then the third paragraph, the last part of that is their families and communities. I would put in there their families and their communities, just to make that read a little bit better, if that's okay. And then the theme in the fourth paragraph, social workers uplift, defend, and transform. If you just take out the commas there and put periods after that, that would make it in line with what they publish. Then there's a paragraph that starts, whereas social workers are on the front lines defending vulnerable populations, including immigrants. And then it's got some letters there, the LGBTQIA2S plus individuals. It seems to me that we're putting a lot of information in about these individuals, but not talking with a lot of information about other different things like mental health and all kinds of things that you could be talking about.
Commissioner Powell, can I just interrupt with the sentence paragraph before that begins with because social workers follow a code of ethics and we don't know what the code of ethics is per se. I did look at the one online for the National Association that calls for them to stand for equity, quote unquote, equity, in every community, uphold human dignity and fight injustice. If I may, because in the order, I'd like to suggest that we replace equity with equality.
Okay.
And I do have, while we're on the subject of that line, fighting injustice. Fighting injustice is a good thing, but throughout this proclamation, we've got a claim to fight injustice and be advocates for particular types of injustices as perceived by this national organization. I'm not sure that this is our mission in Alamance County to become social advocates as social worker employees. This is not what my idea of the core statement should reflect.
Yeah, suggestion.
I'm sorry. Do either of you know what a social worker does? They don't get into what you are. They just get into saving you and supporting you and making sure you have what you need. They don't pick and choose what you may call yourself. They just see you as a human being.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
I'm going to
Like
have to
domestic
disagree with
violence,
the lecture.
sexual
Yeah.
assault. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said I'm going to have to disagree with your lecture.
I'm not lecturing you, Mr. Perrelli. I'm asking
afraid
you, do
you
you
are.
understand? You ain't seen me lecture you yet.
Yeah, you're
But I'm
right.
telling you, I'm wondering that you're trying to rip this apart
No,
to
I'm
suit you
talking
because
about
I'm
the
seeing
proclamation.
DEI coming in on you because that's where you go every time.
That's
I
right.
knew you was going to go with equity. I knew, and then we got the LGBTQ, whatever it is. You know, I saw this at the Domestic Violence Commission. We had some that wanted to do this particular thing, and take out the word all in the general statute. All means everything, means community, means wherever you are all a human being. And that's what a social worker does. The minute a social worker goes to the hospital or somewhere and says, well, I don't like what you believe in, they don't need to go back. That's a hard part of this job. The judgment is nowhere. It may be here or in other fields, but it's not judgment when it comes to a child's been raped, a man's been raped, a woman's been raped, or you've lost your home, or a teacher was living homeless. It's all kind of stuff.
Well,
And I
what-
encourage you
what
to
we're gonna-
walk those shoes sometimes.
What
We all need to do.
we're gonna agree on is that's what it should be. What I don't want it to be is social advocacy. We're not hiring folks with government taxpayer dollars to become social advocates. We went through this discussion with the library system, where they're
Yeah.
training their senior managers, where they did train 7 of the senior managers to become social advocates. That's not what we're using the taxpayers' dollars for.
Well, what do we
That's
use
my
the
point.
taxpayers' dollars for? Get real. We got plenty of money, right? You said that in one meeting. We go loaded. We just got plenty of money. It
I
doesn't
think-
matter.
I think we've got sufficient revenues, yes.
Okay. I know what you're doing.
Let's get back to.
Yeah, we need to get back.
Anyway, this reminds me of the old days. You don't fit right in.
I feel like that we're being asked to vote on a proclamation that needs to be one that comes from us. And that's the only thing that I'm saying.
I agree.
And I don't know why we need all this, the detail of this LGBTQIA 2S plus individuals. I think that's covered with the rights of everyone, which is the end of that sentence. I would just take out the LGBTQIA 2S plus individuals.
Mr. Powell, I might add, the reason for my what I read in the invocation points to that word as well. We want equality. We want everybody to have the opportunity to have equal treatment, fair, equal treatment for everybody.
And then, I'll just finish the paragraph, in as much as social workers confront oppression, racism, advocate for human rights, and advancing fair policies for all persons by obliterating barriers that prevent individuals and families from thriving. It seems like to me that's unnecessary as a paragraph. I think that's all stated in some of the other wording that's here. So, anyway, if we were to make those changes, I think it would be more of a proclamation from us rather than us rubber stamping a proclamation that's sent to us.
If you'll put that in the form of a motion, then I'll be happy to second it.
I'll make the motion then that we make those changes, and I'd be happy to work with the secretary to
Second.
get that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No. You can't pick and choose what people are.
Well,
That's just my personal comment.
so we have the county attorney first, and then we'll do the commissioner's comments. Sorry.
Nothing further from me tonight, Board. Thank you.
Okay. And we have the county manager's report.
Yes, I wanted to take a quick minute to remind our community that we have a budget survey that we're administering. It closes at the end of March. It's available by paper copy at the library. It's available online. We're approaching approximately 1,000 responses at this point, so it's an additional avenue to gain some citizen input into the budget process. Tomorrow, I am also doing our first employee forum of the year, where we're talking about the upcoming budget, answering questions about budget, and giving them an opportunity to share some input with me as we move into the budget process. And then I wanted to just take a minute to highlight some great work that our EMS department is doing. We received a copy of a letter from an individual who received some paramedic services while he was in Alamance County on February 13th. And his letter was quite kind, said that the care that he received on that day was nothing short of outstanding. The team demonstrated remarkable skill and compassion, ensuring excellent patient care on scene during the transport and while advocating for his needs during the transfer to the emergency department at Alamance Medical Center. So I wanted to share that positive feedback that we got on our EMS team. And in that light, we also have recently appointed a new EMS director. will bring him to one of the day meetings to introduce him to the board. His name is Josh Kylander. He is a current employee of EMS, and he is moving into the director role. And we're really looking forward to his leadership and professionalism that he will bring. So thank you for that opportunity.
You're welcome. Okay. So we have the commissioners' comments now, and I think I'll start, if y'all don't mind. I don't see people by color, by what your status is, if you have a title. In fact, I tell people not to be calling me commissioner or mayor, because you're only as good with the title as the person standing behind it. I see you for who you are, how you treat me, how I feel towards you as a person. I don't care what your religion, your sex, what you pick yourself to be. As a retired nurse, that is drilled into us in school. And as long as everyone, I don't care who you are being treated equally, I'm okay with it. But if you are not treated equally, if someone is not because of one of these issues, you are covered under federal law. And I personally would like to know that you feel like you are not being treated equally or fairly as everyone else is. Okay, you want to go next?
Well, I thought that was interesting, and I agree. I spent 35 years in banking, and we were heavily regulated. If I wanted to be prejudiced in one way or another, I wasn't allowed to be. So that's the reason, one of the reasons I chose what I read tonight, as I've said before. We have to treat everybody fairly. If we don't treat people fairly, then it's on us, and I don't want to be paying that freight with my maker at some point in the future. So try to treat everybody fairly.
Briella?
Enough said tonight.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yeah, I just want to talk about, somebody said something about priorities, and years ago, before you and Judy started coming to Harvest, we had a financial course by Dave Ramsey. And one thing that stuck with me is you look at your checkbook and you see what your priorities are, big time. Mine and Craig seem to be Blue Ribbon and Food Line. So, but I would like to ask a question, and because I have had this, no, I'm going to ask that privately. I just want to say I went to the Elder Care Finance fundraiser last week at First United Methodist Church, and my kids went to preschool there. It was so cool to see that auditorium. And anyway, I sat at the front table with Barbara, and we were up there, and I had a naval gentleman, Navy veteran, and his wife. He was the walker that you can turn around and sit on, so he was sitting on that, and being a military mom and daughter, y'all know how ridiculous I am when it comes to everything. And I was just watching Iran and just watching all this, all this stuff. And I looked at this gentleman, and he was kind of quiet, and I said, "How about that Navy?" And he said, "Yeah." And he hadn't said a word, and he said, "Yeah." He said, "How about that Navy?" He said, "I was on submarines in World War," I'll never forget this. He said, "I was on submarines." I said, "Did you see that submarine blow up that ship?" I said, "Oh my gosh, it's amazing." He was 19 years old, all again, and he's got dementia. And we talked about that. His wife was the guest speaker, and all the programs that Elder Care provides, and all this stuff on our senior services. And we can't ever let them fall when it comes to funding, because we're going to be there. But this gentleman just lit up when I started talking about the Navy, and I was still my son's Army, my dad was Air Force, and we were just really just having quite a conversation. And when we stopped talking, he just went right back and was quiet again. So I was so proud of him and how he served this country and what he did. And just submarines, I can't even imagine being underwater, let alone on the water. But it's just very important. I got a senior services committee meeting in the morning. It's very important that we put them out there and get as much extra help, grants, block grants, fundraisers, everything, because that's a real tough thing, isn't it, with adult protective services and abuse and people coming in taking things and money and harming people. It's just everywhere. It's a real tough world right now. So we better look at the things that we really support, that take care of the ones who have led the way to make this country what it is, because we don't need to mess it up. But if you could have seen that gentleman wearing that Navy veteran hat talking about being on submarines when he was young. It was amazing. I was just so honored to sit at the same table with him. So that's about it.
Commissioner Powell?
Well, I'd just like to say that I agree with what's been said, and we need to do what we can to help and support the weakest of the community, the people that are in need. I think it's fantastic what we do as a county, and my hat's off to the Department of Social Services and the Health Department, all of them. And I used to serve on the Mental Health Board years ago when I was a commissioner. So I believe in what the county's doing, and I support that 100%. The proclamation is something different. This is a message from us that we're supporting all of this, and I think it needs to come from us, and that's the only reason that I said what I said. But thank you very much.
Okay. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
You gotta get faster. You gotta get faster.
Thank you for watching the Alamance County Commissioners Meeting. Commissioner meetings typically occur on the first and third Monday of each month in the Commissioners Meeting Room in the County Office Building at 124 West Elm Street in Graham. The first Monday meeting begins at 9:30 a.m. and the third Monday meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. Changes to the meeting schedule will be posted on the county website at alamancecounty.nc.gov. This meeting will be broadcast on LocalGov TV. Please go to www.localgovtvnc.com for more information about their schedule and to see more videos produced by your local governments. You can also access this meeting through our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/Alamance County NC or by clicking the YouTube link on the county website. Technical questions regarding this broadcast or production may be sent to our county webmaster via email at webmaster@alamancecounty.nc.gov. This address is for technical questions only. Comments and questions about the content of this meeting may be made to the commissioners themselves. You can find their contact information at the Alamance County website at commissioners.alamancecounty.nc.gov. There, you can learn more about the commissioners' duties, read minutes and agendas of commissioner meetings, and find other information about the county commissioners. You can also send mail correspondence to County Commissioners, 124 West Elm Street, Graham, North Carolina, 27253. Again, thank you for watching the Alamance County Commissioners Meeting. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all of our latest video content. If you're watching on LocalGov TV, be sure to visit their website to see all of the content made for you by your local governments.